Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch presents, a baseball edition. I'm your host, real_G Warner, joined as always by @ABrooksBets. We were talking right before the podcast began that I might go shirtless, considering I started shirtless with a 3-0 early evening sweep on the baseball diamond so far tonight. But for everyone, kids, families, older women, elderly, just figured I'd put a shirt on for today. So we went 2-0 in our last episode. Can we do better than that @ABrooksBets?
I mean, you want us to give multiple bets? Let's do it. I mean, you listen to the whole pod. Had a winning record too, if you keep track at home. We've been talking good baseball on this podcast. I think it's starting to this series this week. I mean, these games we're about to talk about are like marquee games. They're interleague matchups. They seem good matchups. We got a World Series type rematch. Not quite because the Dodgers didn't make it, but they wish it was a World Series rematch with the Rangers this week. Great matchups, tough calls across the board. I'm looking at overs and unders, looking at money lines, run lines. I'm looking at the weather. I'm looking at any edge we can get. It's going to be a good week.
I'm looking forward to it. We'll start. Yes, there are very few American League versus American League or NL versus NL games, which is really bizarre. Only 4 of them in total. Other 11 are interleague. So I feel like it was back when we went to interleague play from yesteryear, where they basically had a weekend full of interleague play out of nowhere. But schedules have normalized a little bit since then. But yeah, stick with us. We will give, I guess, our ultimate best bets, our best bets end of show, try to improve upon our 2-0 record from last week's episode, which we recorded on Thursday. We're sticking with a Tuesday night for the Wednesday card moving forward. So thank you for, I guess, accepting our delay for a day, but 2-0, I think we'll certainly solve some of those problems. If you're not following us on Twitter, please make sure you do that @ABrooksBets and @TheReal_G Warner. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel @TheReal_G Warner, also on Instagram. Plus, if you have not given us a 5-star review on our podcast, please go do so at Apple Podcasts or at Spotify, or really ideally both. We did have a 5-star review last week, but a comment that did not come through. So nothing to read, nothing to shout, but I will check again later on in this episode. We'll start with a night game. We do have a bunch of getaway day games, as you'd expect in interleague. But we'll start in the Queens, or I guess it's not the Queen City, in Queens, as it is. Braxton Garrett, the Miami Marlins, are visiting the Mets and David Peterson. It looks like we got a -140 price on the Mets. Total is 7.5, juiced pretty heavily to over. What do we do with the Marlins at this point in the season?
Well, I don't think they're very good, but the question might be, what do we do with the Mets? Because I don't think they might not be very good either. I know you had them as an underrated team early on this year. They have not proven
Oops.
you correct. They're
Oops.
not very good.
No,
Yeah.
not
And
good.
but they are favored at home here. Griffin and I were talking before this. This looks like a college basketball podcast. Shout out Big East Ben. There are no road
He's
favorites
gonna
tomorrow.
love
That's what I
that. Oh my
talk
gosh.
about.
Start over.
There are no road favorites. Well, actually, there's one that came through. I think the Phillies are favored at Fenway tomorrow. Of course, love to see that.
Naturally.
But
Naturally.
these two guys, neither one of them pitched very much. Peterson coming off a hip injury, which cost him kind of the first part of the year, has only pitched a little bit. I don't really love the Mets. You give me plus money on the Marlins in this spot, I think I'll take it. I'm not going to get in the habit of taking a bunch of road dogs, I hope, but we'll see how this podcast goes.
Yes, looking forward to whatever the heck comes out of both of us at this point. I feel like Braxton Garrett was one of those pitchers in a live ball era where you could actually hit home runs, where he would strike out people, never really got a lot of respect. It's a good fantasy baseball option if anyone is playing that nowadays. But now I don't really know what to do with him. I also thought Peterson has a really good slider, looked very good against Washington, the Washington Nationals, despite wearing a rivalry t-shirt right now, the Orioles. If you're watching on video on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, please leave a 5-star review or subscribe. But Peterson's been very good. So I don't know what to do with this one. The Mets, I mean, their bullpen is so scary. And it looks like Edwin Diaz might be back. If he's not back, I might have missed it tonight. Then he'd be back sometime soon, through, I guess, in some sort of minor league fashion. And they basically were like, well, we can't have Reed Garrett closing, so we might as well bring someone into the fold. I guess first five under would probably be my interest here, though it's not a strong lean. Moving next to Pittsburgh visiting St. Louis. You got Bailey Falter at Sonny Gray. Currently Gray minus 165 favorite, total 7.5, juice a little bit more to over. Bailey Falter's been great this year, but the I feel like you can see the pumpkin, or I guess what am I
Yes.
even saying? The whatever turning into a pumpkin. The like
The princess back to a pumpkin.
Well, I think it's like the carriage, it turns into a
Oh, okay.
pumpkin. If
Yeah.
it's been a little while since I watched Cinderella. There's
Yeah.
probably a Cinderfella coming out soon. You never know. But what do we think about Bailey Falter? And honestly, Sonny Gray's not been sharp.
Yeah. I looked up Falter too because I feel like, oh, yeah, he's pitched well. And then I was kind of doing research for this, and he really underlyingly has not. So yeah, I think he's a regression candidate.
Indeed.
Sonny Gray, yeah, I'm not so sure about his recent form, but he is the better pitcher overall, I would say. St. Louis at home, the Pittsburgh offense might be anemic. They're not. It's not happening this year like some people. Not me. No, it was me. thought that it might.
Well, there's only two of us on this episode.
It was me.
So.
Yeah, I thought the NL Central was going to be like Reds and Pirates, and here we are, mid-June, and it's not that. So this is a big price, though.
It
I
is.
think the Buccos just pulled one out despite a catcher's interference call late or something like that. I might be getting it swapped out with a different game, but again, God, this is a big price. I'll go Pirates on the road and cross my fingers.
I'm interested. So Bailey Falter, you could argue he's due for some regression. That seems to be hitting Seth Lugo, who's probably the poster child for regression candidates at this point in the season. I just feel like Bailey Falter's been good. Still not very afraid of the St. Louis offense, though it's certainly improved lately. Sonny Gray is the biggest question mark for me. Never really has gone deep in games over his entire career. I thought it was always due to injury or something like that. I feel like the Twins would pull him every sixth inning. Never even saw a 16th out in a lot of that tenure there, and then finished really high up in the Cy Young race. So someone knew something or something like that. And the St. Louis bullpen is okay. I would have said it was good early in the season, but I feel like they've been showing some flaws lately. I think Pittsburgh, the price is right. It's big enough. I like that side. You could mess with a run line, though it's probably pretty expensive, plus 1.5 and only a minus 165 favorite. I also feel like under first five, or really the full game, it seems like if Pittsburgh if they're in a close game, they're using their good bullpen, their bullpen is great. If it's not, they have some legitimate scrubs out there. And unfortunately, when I've backed them this year and they've blown leads, then seeing them in extra innings, I might as well just turn the game off. But I think Pittsburgh is a reasonable number just based on the price here. Moving to the American League, we have no starter for Kansas City. We have Poteet starting for the Yankees, and he's actually been pretty good in a bunch of starts to start, I guess, in kind of a spot start type of situation scenario, filling in. What do we think about Poteet? He looked really good against the Dodgers. Any takes on him?
No, I don't really know too much about Poteet. I hope that he's not good. Well, maybe I do hope he's good because his name is weird. But yeah, there's no line in this one. I've been a Royals at home kind of person.
How's
Watched the
that
game
going for
tonight,
you
and
lately?
yeah, I watched the game tonight, and it didn't look very good. It looked like the Yankees were good, and the Royals were trying to be good. So I imagine that the Yankees will also be a road favorite in this game. I don't
Indeed.
know who the undecided is or who the bullpen might be, but
If it's the bullpen, it's ugly. I can guarantee you
yeah,
that.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll go over. Aaron Judge can't miss anything right now.
I mean, Aaron Judge, after starting the year off colder than a witch's tit, or a witch's poteet, if you will,
Yeah.
um, it's not the same anymore.
He's hitting over 400 batting average in the last 36 games. Not good.
And we saw Soto return on Monday. So
Yes. That was quite the scare, huh? A little bit of
I
came out
mean,
for the rain delay. We had our Yankees chat throwing up on themselves. They thought that he'd cost himself $500 million, and look at that, he's fine.
I'm really sad when our fantasy baseball chat, which is dominated by Yankees fans, for some reason, some hellish reason, I don't know how we got wrapped up into that, but I do like seeing them squirm a little bit, I must
Yeah,
say, even though they haven't been good in 20 years, so I don't even know why they even care so much. But I do respect people who care over a ball and how it bounces. I do feel like the Royals are a team. I just if they don't score 8 runs off of a starting pitcher, I don't know how they win games anymore. Their bullpen is a joke, and it's amazing how much money we made early this season on them because
yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen much more. Moving to Seattle, we have Chicago White Sox and somebody Cannon who looked really good in the bullpen. And I think Friday night's game against the Red Sox, where the White Sox were able to end their 14-game losing streak in hilarious fashion. If you thought the Nationals tonight throwing the ball around, giving up a little league home run to Riley Green, throwing the ball away twice, I feel like the White Sox Red Sox on Friday night was a perfect little league type of except a lot of very wealthy players. On the Seattle side, we have Bryce Miller starting, and he's in a perfect place for him. But Seattle with Bryce Miller minus 230 favorite is gigantic, but it does maybe seem a little bit more reasonable when you're thinking about the White Sox in town. Total here is 7.5, juiced a little bit to under. Do we think a Chicago White Sox bullpen game can win it? I mean, 2 to 1 odds. So all you need to do is
Yeah.
win 33% of the time, and this is a profitable bet.
Well, the Mariners strike out more than any team in the big leagues.
Indeed.
So, I mean, if you're going to have a bullpen game, I guess you're going to kind of go out and those guys 1 inning, 2 innings at a time are going to have a lot of juice in the tank, I think, and maybe kind of empty it out there and maybe have a little success. So I certainly wouldn't bet the Mariners at this price. I don't like betting on the worst team in baseball, but I mean, plus 200, you're getting 2 to 1. Let's give it a whirl.
Maybe there's that run line.
Yeah.
Mariners win 1-0, and you will profit all the way home. And somehow, I mean, that's basically how the Mariners play at home. They try to score 3 runs. They might do it in the first inning and never touch the home plate again. And somehow that seems to hold up, even and might hold up against the White Sox, who can't hit water if they fell out of a boat. We'll move next to interleague and that big slate early matchup for Colorado, clearly leaving town with Austin Gomber on the mound, starting at Pablo Lopez, who has been pretty inconsistent, to say the least. Maybe all over the place would be another way to describe him. Maybe just terrible. But Lopez minus 215 favorite, another big favorite here. Total is 8. Juices split both ways, so no real indication of where this one will go. But I would expect on a getaway day we might see some absentees from the lineups here. Austin Gomber, hard to trust, but you could say the same about Paulo Lopez, and he's a 2 to 1 favorite.
Yeah, I kind of like the under in this one. I was Lopez has been has not very, but he has been unlucky. His expected ERA is just a tick over 3, and his actual ERA is over 5. So I know I was high on him coming into the year, and he obviously hasn't produced, so that has not been a winning formula for me. I don't really want to bet on I mean, the Twins are. I mean, I've said this before. I'm not. I don't really think they're in that race, but maybe they'll prove me wrong. And if Lopez can step up and get a little bit more lucky and pitch to his potential, but I think the Rockies' offense is anemic, and this game might be 7-0, and then we win under 8.
Yeah, I feel like with totals in this sport, until it's over, it's under. So that's a simple to say, but it really does to me. Seemingly getting those last few runs to put it over the total is a hard thing to do. We might see one of those a lot of first pitch swings, early start after a late night game
Yep.
on Tuesday night, and played Monday too as well. Which I think the Rockies were shut out by Chris Paddock and that corpse, Cowboy corpse or whatever. I'm not sure if he still wears tuxedos on the way to the ballpark with a cowboy hat on the days he starts, but that was a weird thing he used to do in San Diego that they talked about glowingly until he started to suck. I think Pablo Lopez, I was looking up the antonym for regression as like a opposite of regression candidate. So I think we'll call Pablo Lopez an upswing candidate. I don't know if that actually fits, but it's the best I could find in the 4 seconds while you were talking. Move next to Toronto visiting Milwaukee. We got Chris Bassett at Tobias Myers coming off a deep start on the road and a blowout at Detroit. Bassett, surprisingly not a favorite here, but maybe not so surprising because he's been pretty bad on the road. He pitched very well in Oakland his last start but who doesn't do that at this point? We got Milwaukee minus 109 favorite in another early start matinee at 2:10 Eastern time, first pitch schedule. Total here is 8.5. Juices split both ways. Again, no real indicator of where this number will move, but for the rest of the market, we're quoting lines courtesy of BetOnline, Sportsbetting.ag. If you don't have an account there, please go make one. Follow the links in the podcast description and get some free money. Best way to make your betting experience the best as possible is using the casino's money against them. What do we think about Toronto? I mean, they still don't hit to me, but Milwaukee doesn't either. So this should be a pretty good, and it's been a close series so far.
Yeah, under the illusion, or I don't know, hopefully it's not an illusion, that the Blue Jays might be the worst team. They might be bad. They have a bottom 5 pitching team and a bottom 5 hitting team right now.
That sounds like bad to me.
Yeah, they're the worst pitching team. I think Chris Bassett might be the definition of average. He's getting paid $21 million to be the definition of average. And I don't know if that is really a thing that they want to be paying him for. He hasn't impressed me all that much. Tobias Myers did have a good start last time out. They are the Brewers at home. They are leading their division. I think they're the far better team. It's a very, very short favorite price. In fact, it's pretty much a toss-up. I'm taking the Brewers.
Yeah, I don't really see a reason to go against it. The Brewers, I mean, bullpen might have worked more because they kind of had a call up filling in today to start on Tuesday night. Chris Bassett, I mean, he's very good at home over his career, and that's been pitching in a lot of pitchers' parks. But wasn't I don't know if you called City Field in Queens when he was on the Mets as a same sort of thing. It might just be that I mean, he throws 8 pitches. Maybe he figures out how to throw that better at certain mounds. I do have a little bit of concern of Milwaukee and Myers coming off of a really dominant start, maybe having a little bit more trouble against a better lineup. But really, how much better is the Toronto lineup than Detroit's at this point? I consider Detroit's one of the bottom offenses in the league as well. But Milwaukee's bullpen still missing Devin Williams. They've been filling in the gaps pretty well. Pat Murphy probably deserves a lot of credit, or whatever Craig Counsell left behind. Maybe that's an organizational thing, not necessarily him, despite his, I think, $9 million a year as manager of the Cubs. But I like Milwaukee as well. I'll move on next to the Bay Area with Houston and the Astros visiting San Francisco. Pretty dominant pitching matchup. Maybe not having the best years of their starters' careers, but this is a premier matchup here. We got Framber Valdez for Houston at Logan Webb for San Francisco. Webb a slight minus 106 favorite, minus 104 on the Valdez side and the Astros. So pretty much a pick 'em. Pick who you like. Total here 7.5. Choose pretty heavily to under. Could see that getaway day, but usually the ball travels a little bit better in San Francisco. I was watching right before this podcast started the Monday night game and just literally seeing two. I mean, literally, I felt like I fast forward to the next inning and it was already the next inning because the outs were getting accumulated so quickly. Do you see anything different here? Do you see offenses? Because it seems like even though Houston has a great offense going to San Francisco, it's where offenses go to die.
Yeah, might want to dive into infield defense a little bit more on this one because these are the 2 premier ground ball pitchers in the league.
Thank God they don't pitch for the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's right. 7.5 juice to the under. The wind is actually, like you mentioned, I did check it. It's blowing out a little bit, so I think it does that during the day. I don't think it's as much of a pitcher's park during the day as we mentioned before.
Correct.
But yeah, Valdez and Webb,
marine layer.
They pitch to contact. They want the ground balls. I mean, both of them have the strikeout ball a little bit, but nothing too crazy. I really kind of want to. I want to check into the outfield defense, but I'm going to take the home team here. I've been burned on the Astros on the road quite a bit this year. They've obviously not been as good as we thought they'd be. Logan Webb, I think, he's going to be fine this year. I think he had a rough start, but he's battled back. His numbers look great, and he gets all those ground balls. I know Matt Chapman's over there, right, at third base.
So he returned tonight.
Right, and he's a Gold Glover, Platinum Glover, I believe he was at one point. So give me the Giants at home.
Whatever color his glover, like I don't think Platinum Glove explains Matt Chapman. I mean, what he did against, I want to say it was the Mets a couple weekends ago, like bare hand, bounce throw. If he misses it and goes in the outfield, it's a win for the Mets. If it's just late or he eats it, it's a tie game and they probably lose with runners on base. Just great plays everywhere he goes. And I mean, has also been hitting this year, which we haven't seen in a little while. Former MVP candidate. I like Matt Chapman a lot. I think I agree with you that I like San Francisco better here. They are nowhere near the lineup that Houston has, but ultimately they play really well at home. And I feel like the San Francisco bullpen doesn't have the names that Houston does, but I feel like they have the ability to win at home, the devil magic, whatever you call it. You're right, it's not as much of a pitcher's park in the daytime, but the ball's not going to carry here. Like no marine layer is not as big of a deal during the daytime because these guys are going to keep the ball on the ground a significant amount. So I lean to San Francisco. I think I like under here too as well on a getaway day. Moving next, it looks like the last of the early starts. In the intro league, but we still have a bunch more games in here. Oakland and Hogan Harris at Michael King from a great high school in Rhode Island. Michael King minus 183 at Bet Online. Total here is 8, a little bit juice to under. And I think you could see that for any Oakland game, and certainly in San Diego, less marine layer in the daytime as well. That's probably when the ball flies the best. Do you give Oakland a chance here? Do we feel good about Michael King now? A lot of questions I have about this one.
Yeah. So I'm over 3 in my last 3 bets, backing the Padres. So I do want to look at the Athletics here. They're chippy. I mean, they're playing right now, so I'm interested in kind of how the rest of this game plays out. And I think, yeah, I'm at big money underdogs. Hogan Harris. I mean, I don't know too much about him, but I'm not like a true believer in Michael King right now. His strikeout ball is not like it was when he was a reliever for the Yankees. So yeah, I'm interested in the Athletics here, and leaning that way.
I saw an interesting stat tonight that Michael King is second in terms of starting pitchers for weakest contact, which tells me that maybe that explains his uptick in form or ability, or I guess good run lately, despite lacking those strikeouts, as you mentioned. But I got to say, I've been pretty impressed by the results from Hogan Harris so far. I'm not sure that they're forever type of thing, that they'll stick around for a while. Oakland bullpen, I think, is okay. They're dealing with some injuries. They lost Urseg. I don't know how you pronounce that name, but also have one of the most dynamic closers. But getting to him is the hardest part, I think. I like under here, despite it being a day game. I like getaway days for that. I think that's probably the safer play than backing Oakland on the road here. But you could play a run line plus 1.5. It also correlates to under there too. And that's probably a little bit more reasonably priced. Moving now to Baltimore as I wear my Orioles shirt from a 3-star triple best bet winner tonight at pregame.com. If you're not following me there, go check it out, or check out my Patreon, patreon.com/real_G Warren, the best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything across all sports, including the Euro 2024 that starts on Friday, Copa America starting next week. And we'll try to get some picks out of A. Brooks Bets because I know he really loves the soccer pitch and what's happening out there. But we'll start with Atlanta and Spencer Schwellenbach, and he's starting at Maury Povich or something like that, maybe Cade Povich.
Cade.
I guess we're college teammates at Nebraska. Small little nugget there, but Povich minus 122 favorite at home for the Orioles, who closed a pretty sizable underdog tonight to Max Fried at home and blanked them. Total here is 9, just a little bit to over. It's a lot of, I mean, we got some potential studs. I don't know. I don't have a ton on Povich coming up. This will be his second major league start, I believe, and I think also the second for Schwellenbach. What do we think about this one? Because honestly, I've been betting against Atlanta, and it has been keeping me afloat for a long time now. And finally, they're an underdog away from home, which they haven't been in a very long time.
Yeah, you have been fading the Braves successfully for a lot longer than, like, you cut on that train a little bit before I did. So kudos to you on that. But I think I'm going to jump on now and then probably ruin it for all of us.
I mean, what they say about streaks, streaks only, they last forever and only end once.
That's right. Yeah, but still bet the unders in the Academy Service games. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That streak will never end.
Okay. Okay.
I think it ended last year, but it's like
Well,
34
it's
and
time to
4
start a
games
new
left.
one,
Yeah,
baby.
exactly. It's just automatic under 27 in a college football game. It's so ugly. It's so awesome. It's so fun.
When they reserve an entire weekend for that game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not with a playoff, though. I don't know how that's going to go, or the 12 team.
Schwellenbach and Povich. These guys do sound like they should be playing in Omaha. Whether that's at Nebraska or in the College World
Yeah.
Series, they're
That,
probably
that
both
or
pretty good there.
Deutschland. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Orioles at home. I like them here. I think the Braves are a little bit overrated. I know Ozzie Albies crushes lefties. I don't know about the rest of the lineup though. Acuna out for the year. Man, that stinks for them again. But last time that happened, they won the World Series. So is this the start of a run for the Braves? I don't know. What say you?
Considering I bet against them Friday, excuse me, no. Yes, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Washington last weekend. Tonight, so that'd be Tuesday. So I basically bet against them their last 4 games. Road favorites in all of them, lost all of them. Could argue maybe they were close in some of them, but they're like these are blowout losses. And Acuna's gone. He was horrible
Yeah, they
before his
got shut out
injury.
today, right?
Shut out today, and led off the game with a triple and didn't score with their second, third, and fourth hitters. I mean, I think there are real problems in Atlanta right now. I don't even know, like, we haven't seen their bullpen in a long time because they haven't been in close games, but I'm not even convinced that with AJ Minter on the IL, Raisel Iglesias is sometimes awesome, but he can get wild and wilder than maybe a Wander Franco party. But I just feel like it's just one of those things where Atlanta, if they're going to continue to be priced this way, I mean, Baltimore is like one of the best teams in the league, if not for the Yankees overshadowing them. This feels like a cheap price. I mean, I don't have a ton on Povich as a left-handed pitcher that can sometimes be problematic, but Austin Riley doesn't scare me right now. Same sided as Matt Olson. That's a big, big deal. Hitting home runs out to left field in over the Great Wall of Baltimore is impossible. So we saw honestly tonight the catcher who's been so bad with so many injuries, but laced one to left field that the Braves broadcast is going nuts about how to be a home run in like 29 or 30 parks, but not in Baltimore. So I feel like Baltimore looks great, playing great, pretty cheap price here, minus 122 at Bet Online right now as we record. So I like that
And for
side.
all you Braves fans, I'm not blaming you. Okay. You lost the best pitcher in baseball and last year's NL MVP. So, I mean, that's hard for any team to get over. That's it, whether it's in the clubhouse or it's demoralizing or it's actually on the field, probably all of it. That's tough. I mean, I almost forgot about Spencer Strider going down a month ago, and now
Yep.
Acuna's out for the year. They've
Yep.
locked up a lot of young stars in Atlanta, so everybody, thinks that they're deep. I thought they're deep, but geez, that's tough for anybody.
Yeah, and you have the Phillies running away with the division, which
Yeah.
means if Atlanta can't somehow make this miraculous comeback, if we're talking on a macro level or full season thing, I mean, they're destined for a wild card berth. And I mean, I guess that worked for the Rangers and the Diamondbacks last year in insane fashion, as both those teams are starting to look like the actual teams they were last year, this season. But yeah, there's a lot of troubled waters, I would say, in the center of Georgia. Moving next to those Washington Nationals and Jake Irvin on the road at Reese Olson and the Detroit Tigers. A very close back and forth wild game tonight. Olson a minus 133 favorite off of 2 really poor starts. Total here is 8, juiced very heavily to under. Might see a 7.5 before first pitch. Two, I think we can use your word, anemic offenses in this one, and 2 really good starting pitchers, I think. But Olson has not been delivering lately. Are you concerned about him?
Under 8. If you can snag it now, do it. 7.5, like you said, might happen. 2 hours ago, when I first saw this line, it was just under 8 normal juice, and I snapped it. It doesn't. The wind's blowing in Detroit. It's a big pitcher's park. Both these offenses aren't good, like you just mentioned. I do like Irvin and Olson on the whole. That's the thing about baseball. Random games make random results. But over the course of the season, I like both of those pitchers, and I don't like either one of these offenses. So under 8 for me.
Yeah, I see no reason to get in the way of that. Though I might look toward a first 5 under as opposed to a full game because we saw Hunter Harvey throw 33 pitches tonight, get pulled with a game-winning run at second base in the 9th inning. I can't imagine he's going to pitch on Tuesday. And then we saw Finnegan hit the last out of the 9th, all 3 in the 10th. It could be a Washington bullpen day that is all hands on deck. We saw Dylan Floro work tonight, who's been awesome despite throwing 90-mile-an-hour fastballs somehow in the middle of the zone. And then I feel like there are more arms in that Washington bullpen. I've been very impressed. That's been a reason why I've been backing them so much. Those are some concerns for me, but I think the push on 8 is pretty important. I think Olsen is going to bounce back. I think there's no troubled waters there for him. Moving next to Tampa for the Chicago Cubs and Javier Assad at Aaron Savale for the Tampa Bay Rays. We got Tampa minus 116 favorite. Total is 8. Juice heavily to under. What do you think about this one?
I lean Rays and I really want to go over in this one. Assad has not been good. Savali's not good. I don't like either one of these pitchers. I definitely don't like the Rays offense. And I'm not sure that the Cubs offense is really going to be,
I think it's been one of the worst in baseball in the last
yeah,
month.
it's not good. So maybe I'm going to cancel the over on this one, but I will lean Rays here. I mean, kind of just like today, I just think that we've said this for a while. They kind of get stuff done. Savali's got probably more potential, I think, if he lives up to his stuff. I don't like this game though. I don't think either one of these teams are going to make noise in October.
Do you recall who we said was going to finish last in the AL East? Didn't we say that? Didn't we have a
I believe
combo?
I said the Rays. I'm switching it to the Blue Jays.
I think I said the Rays. We're gonna have to do some. We're gonna
Okay.
get the interns on it and figure this
Yeah,
out
yeah, that's right.
because, and I mean, for the audience's sake, if you're gonna say it today, who are you saying?
Blue Jays last. Yeah, I'm more confident about that now than a month ago.
See,
I
I'm
just
tempted
don't.
because like
I don't see the Blue Jays.
I would want to say the Red Sox, but I mean they're far ahead, and maybe I'm a victim of the standings
They're going to be
call
exactly
now.
500. Like
I I
they've
mean
been 500 exactly 500 for like 18 unique times this year. It's crazy. They're
it
just right
it
around.
looks like it, but I feel like
Yeah.
if there's a team that the wheels are gonna fall off, it would be the Red Sox. But because I just feel like they can't pitch this well for the rest of the season, and I don't see anything with that lineup. At least Tampa wins games at home and has a good bullpen, but geez, this Tampa
You know what
team
I can't wait
so
for?
far off. Go ahead.
I can't wait for the trade deadline and who's going to be buyers and who's going to be sellers. Like that'll shake up some stuff because I feel like the Red Sox. If you're exactly 500, they're 2 games out of the wild card right now. I mean, they're not like out of it. Like you said, it could totally fall apart. They have a 7-game losing streak and bang, they're sellers like crazy. Or they win 7, or they win 5 out of 7, or they sweep the Yankees, or they do anything good. And heck, you might get somebody like, I mean, I don't think it's going to be Mason Miller type level, but Tanner Scott today, for instance, for the Marlins, he's definitely going somewhere. He just got
Yep.
the final 6 outs of the game. So he's now proving that he's a lefty who throws 100 who can get 6 outs at the end of the game. I mean, those kind of even bullpen weapons or offensive weapons are going to be very interesting as we get down to this because 14 teams making the playoffs. It feels like everybody kind of has a chance. And you're right. The Red Sox are so close to just falling like a deck of cards also. So it's going to be a heck of a summer.
I have a quiz for you. How many teams are over 500 in Major League Baseball today, June 10th, 11th, whatever?
So I
June
think I
11th.
saw this stat. It might be something like 8.
There
Is
are
it a short
10.
number like
There
that?
are 10.
10. Yeah.
10 out of 30. So we got 20 teams at 500 or
Right.
worse. I
And
mean,
14 make the playoffs.
it's so
So
like no one's gonna sell. I mean, or
yeah.
maybe they're all gonna sell. I don't even know. But in the interest of time, we'll move next to that Philadelphia at Boston game that you mentioned earlier. Christopher Sanchez and Philadelphia minus 123 favorite on the road to the Red Sox. Totals 8.5. Juices split both ways. No indicator of where we're going here. Nick Pivetta gets some revenge potentially against his old mates.
Yeah, I think so. Pavetta's been great. And that's the one thing that the Red Sox have been okay with. Cutter Crawford has not been that great lately. I'm about to drop him on my fantasy team. Alert, alert. He's going down. I did not start him today. Just left him on my bench, and then he kind of stunk against the Phillies, and obviously going against Zach Wheeler, so there was really no chance of a win.
Right.
That was a pretty easy call there. But I do like Pivetta. I think Sanchez is not as good as like their other pitchers. The Phillies have the best pitching staff in the league, I think, at least
They look
for
good.
starters. Yeah, Nola and Wheeler and Suarez. I mean, that's tough in a playoff series. But I do like Pivetta. His strikeout rate has been way up there this year. He is in the top 10% of everybody in that regard. I like Pavetta. I like the Red Sox being a dog at home, which is rare on this card.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough for me. Moving now to Cleveland at Cincinnati, Tanner Bybee
Yeah.
at Nick Lodolo. Lodolo minus 114 favorite at home, 8.5 is the total. Do you see any reason to get off Cleveland in the Ohio Cup?
I kind of like both of these pitchers.
I
So I'm
do.
going to go under.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under 8.5. I think I'm interested in, I mean, the Dolo is great. I put him as the best bet on a pregame podcast for baseball last week, and I missed, I literally gave it out. And then I looked again and it's 20 cents different. So I was very upset about that. But he looked good. Cleveland's really good to me. And it looks like the last line that we have to go through before we get our best bets and get out of here. No line in the Texas Dodgers game, unfortunately. But looks like for the Angels, Joel Soriano at Slade Ciccone for Arizona. Ciccone, a minus 140 favorite at home. Total is 9. Are you a believer in Arizona at this point in the season?
No, we talked about this a little earlier today. I mean, no, I'm not a believer in the Angels either. This game is kind of, it's not as good as
Stinky,
everybody
stinky.
thought it would be if it was Trout and Ohtani against the defending National League champions. It's just not that anymore. But yeah, I don't know too much about Ciccone. I know
Yeah, yeah.
Soriano throws really hard, and maybe he gets a bunch of strikeouts. I saw Corbin Carroll lace a triple earlier today, so you know, the Diamondbacks have a little bit of a chance. But what do you think?
Arizona sitting 31 and 35. The
Yeah,
Arizona run to the World Series
not
last
good.
year, I feel like I've not taken advantage of them being rated like
Right,
a team that made the World Series that had
fool's
no
gold.
business being there because they got somehow lucked into the playoffs. All right, so with time left, last I'll go. So it looks like John Gray is coming back for the Rangers at Walker Bueller. I like checking in on your thoughts on Walker Bueller at this point in the season.
Yeah, not good. He's droppable in fantasy leagues, maybe not keeper leagues, but in regular leagues, he's just been all over the place. Um, I don't know what this line is going to be, but if it's anything like I think it might be, which is probably 150 or better for the Rangers, I would
Definitely.
take that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with him. I mean, I want to bet against Walker Bueller as much as I possibly can. I feel like the
Yeah.
Dodgers have been, I mean, they looked really good at the Bronx this weekend, but that's not something I'm really trusting for a long time going forward. Before we get to best bets, make sure we build on our 2-0 from last week. If you're not following at @ABrooksBets or at the real underscore G Warner across the socials, make sure you go do that. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Leave a comment. And if I see it, I will have at @ABrooksBets act it out. We've been promising that without a lot of follow through from our listeners, but there's still time, I guess. Other than that, we'll be back Tuesday night next week for the Wednesday card at @ABrooksBets. You want to give your best bet for this episode?
My best bet is the Battle of Ohio under 8.5.
Okay.
Lodolo and Bybee under 8.5. The Reds offense has not been good. The Indians offense, sorry, Guardians. I keep doing that. It's the Guardians, the Guardians, the Guardians, the
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
The
Okay, got
traffic
it.
cops, the traffic cops in Cleveland. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. It was my brother's favorite team growing up, so like I just have said it a lot. Anyway, no excuses. Under 8.5 in Ohio.
Yeah. That Ohio game, the Ohio
Not
Cup.
get canceled.
Yeah. Let's try. We want to at least make it to a second
I
season.
work at a Native American tribal casino too. You'd think I'd learn.
Well, some of us have taken a lot of headshots in our day. You just heard it at the A Brooks Bets. He gave you his best bet on this Betting the Pitch podcast, the Major League Baseball edition at A Brooks Bets. He gave you the under in the Ohio Cup, the Cleveland Guardians at the Cincinnati Reds. He's going under 8.5. Tanner Bybee at Nick Lodolo. I'm the real underscore G Warner, Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. If you're not following our podcast, make sure you do this. You can get more than a minute version as you'd be seeing on, I guess YouTube or on Instagram or whatever. If you're watching this on Twitter, we appreciate the support, the love. And we went 2-0 on our last podcast, so we're trying to go to 4-0 and try to keep the gravy train rolling as we move forward. But you just heard it at A Brooks Bets. He gave you the Ohio Cup under 8.5 on this Wednesday, June 12th. For my best bet at the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. Check out Patreon if you're not a member. I'm going to go with those Baltimore Orioles. I'm wearing the shirt, -122 home favorite against a very sickly Atlanta offense at this point in the season. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you back here next Tuesday night for the Wednesday card. Be well, and hopefully we go 4-0 with a nice little wave goodbye.